gameplay fixes, improvements, server stability, anti-cheats, and more. We're back with another exclusive Ace reaction video, and if you are new here, if you've never been here before, it's your boy, the myth, the legend, the man with 3,000 hands, aka Ugly Boy 3000. Go ahead and hit that sub button, turn on the post notifications so you never miss a video, and drop a like. It helps the channel out, it puts us into the algorithm, and it gets us one step closer to taking over the world. Exclusive Ace.
What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and after quite a long time of silence over the holidays, or at least relative silence, we've had a few small updates here or there. We finally got a big blog post from Call of Duty with a bunch of community updates and things that we can expect going forward with Black Ops 6.
All right, more of the story. They're gonna have this blog post, and it's gonna have a lot of things like he said, but they're not gonna tell you anything. At the end of the day, they're just gonna bring you on this loop that they've been doing for like 10 to 15 years now. And if you haven't understood what they're doing, then you just gotta be big brain about it. You know what I'm saying? Think big, dog. Think big. Stop thinking small. Yeah, but it's all good. We love Call of Duty over here, so I'm gonna keep playing it no matter what. But if it gets too bad, I'm gonna veer off. But I'm still gonna play Call of Duty. It is what it is.
So today, I wanted to go through this, share it with you guys, share my thoughts on it as well. Just focusing on the Black Ops 6 multiplayer side of things. And diving right into it, the first section here is about anti-cheat. And they mentioned new layers of security that are now live, like updated detection models for behavioral systems such as aimbotting and other data points, including trust and hardware identifiers for serial cheaters. They mentioned they banned over 136,000 ranked play accounts since the mode launched. They're enhancing their cross-examination tools focused on reducing the time it takes to action on accounts. And there's new detection and warning systems for spam reporting by accounts, and they once again reiterated that a single person spamming reports against another person will still just count as one report. Doesn't matter how many times they do it, it just counts as one report. And then they finally mentioned they added new detection and warning systems for repeat playing with cheaters behavior. So if you play with cheaters on a regular basis, even if you haven't been found to be cheating, it will raise flags for them to investigate further, because you could be boosting in that way for rank play, for instance, by basically getting somebody else that is cheating to carry you to constant victories. Next, they shared a few things that we can expect going forward with the anti-cheat. For Season 2, they mentioned new and improved client and server-side detections and systems. There's going to be a major kernel-level driver update, which is something I don't think we've seen for a long time. Like, there has been a kernel-level driver, but I don't recall hearing about any major updates for that in a very long time, at least.
Me either.
And then they also mentioned there will be a new tampering detection system. And then for Season 3 and beyond, they mentioned a multitude of new tech, including a brand new system to authenticate legit players and target cheaters. And as we get closer to Season 3, they're going to dive deeper into these systems.
All right, look, Season 3, you gotta wait all the way until Season 3, because when they released the game for Season 1, they released it without the anti-cheat and everything, because Call of Duty itself is selling the cheats. They make double the profit. Man, I don't want to get into it, but it is what it is. But that's the whole thing going on. So you gotta wait until Season 3, and if you go back onto my channel, you'll see this. You'll see exactly what I'm doing. I'm waiting until Season 3 to really start grinding the game and playing the game. We do our camo grind, and we always unlock every single gun to max level. We do that, but we know where you're doing Call of Duty. We know what you're doing.
Those are the anti-cheat updates they provided here, and just like every anti-cheat update, I always say the same thing, and that is actions speak louder than words. It might look good on paper right now, but we don't know how effective these new systems and improvements are actually going to be. So we'll just have to wait to find out. In the meantime, I'm going to continue playing with Crossplay disabled, which segues into the next thing, and that is they are once again bringing back the ability to disable Crossplay for console players in ranked play. This is something that we could do in previous years, and many people did do this, especially in the high levels of play where you run into cheaters constantly. When you have this ability to just disable crossplay entirely, it creates a much more fair and balanced playing field, since you're eliminating aimbots and wall hacks from the equation. Sure, you still might run into Cronus users, which is still cheating, and to be clear, I'm still very against any form of cheating, including Cronus use, but there is a very clear difference in the impact that a Cronus cheater has on the game compared to somebody with wall hacks or an aimbot. As for the next section in this blog post, they talked about server stability, packet loss, and lobby crashing. And with this, they mentioned they have narrowed down some specific causes of these various issues that can affect all players, and they made new improvements to Call of Duty server infrastructure this week to reduce targeted cases of malicious activities, like crashing a server, for instance, and they're committed to combating those individuals. And they also mentioned with these new improvements in place, they say they've already seen some improvements in stability on the back end, And while it isn't a one-size-fits-all solution for every potential issue, they're confident in the results they've been seeing so far. In addition, they said they also solved some server issues in regions that had recently experienced instability, and they'll continue to act quickly to resolve these as they pop up. And I always treat these types of sections the same way as the anti-cheat sections. It's great to hear that they're working on stuff on the back end. They are working on stuff, but actions speak louder than words, and we'll just have to wait to see how the connection pans out. I will say on my end, it has felt a little bit better in recent times. I initially just chalked out.
How many times are you gonna say this, Exclusive Ace? The connection always feels better, but it's never fixed. It just feels a little bit better. We know this, man. We know this.
Fewer people playing the game, since it seems a lot of people have been dropping off, so maybe that reduces server load, and therefore the connection experience has been at least more consistent than it was early on in the game's life cycle. I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. I'm still getting some matches where I'm getting a much higher ping than I should be getting, and also still getting some situations where I just feel like the hit detection is kind of off. But on average, I would say the connection experience for me has been better in the past few weeks, actually, with Call of Duty. Next up, they provided an update on voice moderation, or essentially the chat ban system. And they made a clear statement here, and that is players should have the freedom to trash talk, and we're constantly working with our teams to make sure moderation is solely targeting conversations that veer into derogatory territory. They go on to say they're constantly examining their moderation systems to make sure they get that distinction right, and they employ regular tuning sessions conducted by humans to improve the accuracy of the voice moderation detection systems based on their code of conduct, which specifically calls out the type of inappropriate language we target. And when it comes to my thoughts on this, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I still personally don't like this style of system, policing the speech in the game, especially with AI systems in a rated M game where everybody has access to a mute button. If you don't like what somebody's saying, you can just mute them. It's as simple as that.
Exactly.
And this is coming from somebody that doesn't even use voice chat. I keep it muted 100% of the time. So it's not like I personally have ever been voice comm bans. I haven't talked on the voice comms in many years in Call of Duty. But I just think even though this is a well-intentioned system...
I be talking crazy on the voice comms, and I've never been banned. Like, I be talking crazy. I don't say nothing too crazy. But I be holding my own, you know what I'm saying? If they talking crazy, you know, we dog them, and then we talk crazy. But they don't even let you talk to them at the end of the game. They took that out. It's all about the skill-based matchmaking.
I don't see how it's really viable for them to draw that perfect line and then have an AI system that's able to detect all of the nuance of speech to determine what's appropriate and what's not, given the context of situation and everything else that's going on. Now, obviously, there are going to be certain things where it's pretty easy to draw that line, but it's when it starts to get into that gray area, especially when we're dealing with like sarcasm or something, or self-deprecating humor, or things like that. Those are areas where it seems like systems like this can really fall apart. And at the end of the day, I just don't think it's necessary to begin with because, like I said, you have that mute option available to you at any given time. And if you don't like what people say in general in Call of Duty, you have the option to just turn off voice chat entirely, like I have done. So at the end of the day, I'm not personally overly invested in this. It's not a hill I'm going to die on or anything. I just think it is an unnecessary system because everyone has that mute button available. And with those more general topics out of the way, now we can dive a bit deeper into the specific changes and improvements we can expect to see when it comes to Black Ops 6. First thing is something we already knew about a week ago. The challenge tracker is coming to the game, so we'll have the ability to track up to 10 challenges. They're also bringing in separate heads-up display settings for multiplayer and zombies. A new one we just learned about in this blog post is they're reducing player collision between teammates. That's going to be great, especially for those stakeout 24/7 players. I find if you play regular maps, this doesn't come into play as much, although I will say it has thrown off my grenade throws very often, so definitely a welcome change there. Then there's going to be a weapon balance pass coming with Season 2, although they didn't share any details here. I'm sure we'll get more details as we get closer with actual patch notes. Honestly, I think weapon balance in general is in a pretty good state right now in Black Ops 6, but I am open to see what kind of tweaks they end up making. They also mentioned bullet penetration updates coming. They're going to be further reducing weapon motion when jumping, sliding, and diving if you're using the dexterity perk, so a buff to dexterity, although still not a mantle speed buff that I would love to see. For kill confirmed, they're going to be reducing the height of the dog tags in order to improve visibility, and I think that's great. In Black Ops 6 especially, I found those dog tags can get in the way of actually seeing your target more than other Call of Duty games from the past, so this is a very welcome change. They're going to be simplifying/expanding requirements for several prestige calling cards. And then later in Season 2, they're planning on adding an icon over an opponent's head when you shoot them if they have Warcry active, so you know they have faster health regeneration. And this is something I've been pushing for a little while now. This should reduce some of the complaints of quote-unquote skill-based damage, and it should absolutely have been in the game to begin with.
Exactly. Skill-based damage is a real thing. If you have a higher skill than somebody, or if you're better than somebody, and you're shooting them and they're just not as good as you, then your bullets will do less damage and give them an opportunity to be able to shoot you back. And that shouldn't be in a first-person shooter to begin with. But, you know, it's all about control, and it is what it is.
I think if you ever have a situation where the enemy is healing faster, you should get some kind of an indication as the person that's dealing damage to them, just to clear up any potential confusion, because it is confusing when you shoot somebody, they go around the corner and then re-peek you immediately, and you shoot them a bunch of times again, and yet they don't die when, from your perspective, it seemed like they should have died. It's great to see that this is going to be properly explained, at least in the case of Warcry. Next, for playlist changes, they're expanding the number of featured playlist slots. They're bringing Gunfight back, finally. That's great to see.
Yes. Why did they ever take Gunfight out? Because they didn't have enough maps. That's what they were just using the old maps. Like, they needed the new maps. Gunfight is one of my favorite, game modes of all time. It's one of the best game modes of all time.
We'll be keeping Stakeout 24/7 in featured playlists and or quick play, so it seems like that's just going to be a staple. And they are planning a small map mosh pit shortly after Season 2 launches for the camo grinders out there. After that one, some bug fixes. Gearhead will now be working properly with Season 2, and it will be properly increasing the charge rate of your field upgrades, like it did when the game first launched. It was working at one point, it did break. It's currently still broken, but they're going to be fixing it with Season 2. Finally, for free-for-all, they're going to be able to accurately calculate the scoreboard by kills.
That's
and
crazy.
The winner circle.
Again, free-for-all was one of my favorite game modes of all time, and they broke it. So if you got second place or third place, you would get first place. And the person that's in first place wouldn't even get a win. They wouldn't even be in first place. Like, what's going on, Call of Duty? What are you doing? You don't know how to
showcase.
You don't know how to fix free-for-all, bro. Like,
that's something that's been broken since this game launched. So nice to see they're finally getting on top of that. Then the Ninja bug apparently will be fixed for round-based game modes like Search and Destroy.
Ninja was broken? I didn't even know that.
Won't be disabling the Ninja perk. And then they just mentioned there's going to be fixes and tuning updates for a large number of calling card challenges. And then finally, on the multiplayer side of things, they do have a section for ranked play. A big part of this is what we already covered. They are going to be providing the option to disable crossplay for those console players out there, so they can eliminate the chance of running into actual aimbots and wall hacks. So it does look like console is going to be the place to go if you play ranked play and take it very seriously, especially in the higher levels of play.
Not me, bro. I don't play ranked play.
The vote to forfeit feature is coming with Season 2 in ranked play. So you can vote to end a match early if one team is getting blown out, or if you lose a teammate. That's cool. And I think that's great, because a forfeited match will count as a standard loss, and it won't result in SR penalties or suspensions. They're also adding the ability to rejoin ranked play matches if you lose connection, which is definitely a nice feature. And then finally, for the Season 2 ranked play rewards, it will include camos for gold rank and up, a Jackal PDW blueprint for 10 wins, and a large decal for 100 wins. And there we go. That is going to wrap it up for these community updates as they relate specifically to Black Ops 6 multiplayer. Overall, definitely some great things in here. I'm happy to see them addressing a bunch of the issues that we've been bringing up for quite some time now. Obviously, they didn't cover absolutely every issue I've got with the game, or many of us have with the game.
No.
But this is a pretty good list, and I'm now at the point where I'm just really curious to see what we're going to be seeing content-wise for Season 2, and then more specifics as well as far as...
The game probably won't be in a perfect, position or a perfect state until Season 4, and then by that time the new game will be coming out like always. But we know this is a vicious cycle.
I'm sure there's going to be
more
than what they outlined in yesterday's blog post. Now, of course, these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below.
Exactly.
How are you feeling about this community
How are you
update
feeling?
And blog post
We
from
need
yesterday?
to know.
Are you feeling generally positive about these things, or not so much?
Out of here.
If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.